Welcome back to the Cover 2 Zone. Eden is back. We're out of week 4 and into week 5. We've got a lot to talk about. So, Eden, I'm not going to ask you how your week's been and all of that. We've got a lot to talk about. So let's get into it. First game we are reviewing, the Cowboys 40, the Packers 40, the first tie of the season. And when we did setting up our predictions at the start of the season, and I was going through the rules with you, you said, "Oh, there won't be a tie. Why is anyone going to pick a tie?" I mean, I get why you wouldn't pick a tie in prediction because it's very unlikely, but it does happen, and it did happen here. A crazy game, first tie of the year, as I said. Number of standout performers in this game. Romeo Dobbs, 6 catches, only for 58 yards, but for 3 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs ran all over the Cowboys defense, 157 scrimmage yards, 2 touchdowns. And then for the Cowboys, George Pickens, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, stepping up to the wide receiver role, wide receiver 1 role with CeeDee Lamb still injured. And it was just an absolute shootout, wasn't it?
Yeah, really, really good. And I'm pretty happy with, not all my predictions have gone well so far, but my Packers one seems to be pretty decent. They are a very good team and arguably the best in the NFC North.
Well, I think a lot of people in Detroit would argue with that. The way they're warming up at the moment, they were excellent this weekend, but we'll come on to that later. And yeah, just a crazy game that goes into overtime. George Pickens even he said after the game he didn't even know that NFL games could be tied. He thought after overtime, time elapsed in overtime, that they'd play another overtime and get a winner, but obviously very, very wrong. But yeah, crazy game. I was watching this go back and forth. It was all Packers in the first quarter or so, and then the Cowboys get a blocked extra point and they take it for 2, which is again a really rare play. You don't see that much in football, and that seemed to really ignite them to come back into the game. I mean, Dak Prescott was outstanding in this game. Jordan Love wasn't bad either. It wasn't bad quarterback play. And I just want to raise the question to you. It's something that Ollie said last week on the show. He said the Cowboys seem to mirror their level of opposition. When they're playing good opposition, they seem to play up to that level. We saw it against the Eagles where they played well. Same in this game. And then when they're playing bad opposition, they seem to drop their level. Would you agree with that? Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I don't know about that, but it's obvious that they've got a very high-powered offense and a rubbish defense, and therefore any Cowboys game is likely to be a shootout, which is great for television. But I don't see the Cowboys winning that division or winning a lot of games still.
Yeah, they are. I was looking at the stats earlier. They are the leaders in the league in total yards and passing yards. Surprisingly, the Cowboys. So, and we'll talk more about that later on when we come on to previews. But yeah, this game leading into it was all about Micah Parsons and his return to Dallas as well. But credit where credit's due. This Dallas O-line kept him and the Packers D-line, which is incredibly talented, like Rashawn Gary, Wyatt as well on that D-line, who have been awesome all season. They kept them quiet, didn't they? And gave Dak the time he needed to play really well.
Yeah, I think Dak, when he has a clean pocket, is actually a very, very good quarterback. But I think we spoke about it before, that I think it's just because he's the Cowboys quarterback. He gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I think he is solid.
Yeah, and it has to be said, Brian Schottenheimer in this game, we've been critical of him or doubtful of him in the preseason, and we didn't like the hire, and that may still thing. But in this game, he called a really good game. In fairness, the plays that were called, I really liked the play on Dak's rushing touchdown. I think it was like a draw almost, and he got the whole line to move forward. The Packers moved back, and Dak had just an easy tunnel into the end zone. So this is what the Cowboys are capable of, and this is what frustrates Cowboys fans, doesn't it? And they probably should have won this game. I mean, I know it's the Packers, who are a good team. You never, especially Americans, they hate ties, don't they? They almost hate ties more than losing. They're not used to draws and ties being a thing in their sports, but it must be frustrating as a Cowboys fan to see them play at this level and then seemingly drop so far the next week or the week after.
I've never really thought of it. Yeah, we're very much used to a draw because of football, whereas basketball, baseball, not a lot of draws. No. It's win or lose in America. You're either a winner or a loser.
Yeah, in society as well. We won't get into politics, but yeah, definitely. Moving on to our second game that we're going to review. The New York Giants get their first win of the season against, up until this week, the undefeated LA Chargers, 21-18. A first start for Jackson Dart and a first win for Jackson Dart. However, it was bittersweet for the Giants, wasn't it? Malik Neighbors has torn his ACL and is out for the season. So obviously a great day to see their first round pick, Jackson Dart, start the game and play really well and win the game. But Malik Neighbors, that's a huge injury for this team, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd really like to see them together. But it is a shame with Malik, but Jackson Dart did look really, really good. I think we were saying the Giants just under Russ were never going to be good. But I think under Dart, I like their D-line. I think he just brings a bit of aura, charisma to New York, which is really important in New York because you kind of get eaten alive. I think partly is Daniel Jones is shown to be a pretty solid quarterback elsewhere. Do you think it is just being a certain character fit in New York? You've just got to be a specific type of person?
Yeah, I think there's definitely something in that. New York is a really tough market to play in, especially in other sports as well. You look at the Yankees fans are ruthless, really. With they expect to win every year. Knicks, yeah, exactly. They expect to win every year, and even you saw it if you're a golf fan, you saw the Ryder Cup this past weekend in New York with the kind of abuse that the European team was getting there. New Yorkers are ruthless and can be really tough to please. So yeah, I do definitely think there's something in that. It does take broad shoulders, and going off that, really, I think the way he played in this game, he looked really calm. He looked really assured. He looked poised in the pocket. Even when the Chargers brought pressure and they closed the pocket quickly, he didn't panic. He tucked the ball away and he looked for a way out. If he got sacked, he made sure he protected the ball. He didn't push the ball downfield unnecessarily. As soon as he got pressured, he looked really calm. He stepped up in the pocket. And he was directing traffic as well. I think he was really taking. Obviously, as a quarterback, you need to be a leader, and he looked like a leader in this game, I thought. Just go through his stats: 13 of 20, 111 yards passing, 54 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. So, not stats that
nothing crazy. He's not blown. Yeah.
No, he's not blown them out of the water. But for a first start in the NFL. No turnovers, no interceptions, 54 rushing yards with your feet, as well as 111 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. You'll absolutely take that. Was that a 65% completion rate as well? Not bad. Absolutely not bad. And I think
let's compare him to a guy like McCarthy. How shaky did McCarthy look first game in?
Yeah.
I think Dart is an older player, and that might be what helps him stay poised. But yeah, you've got to be poised in this league, I think. And to do that week 1, game 1.
And against a really good defense as well. A defense that's been really good this season. Obviously, coming into this week, this team was unbeaten. The likes of some of the players they've got, Derwin James, Deion Henley. It's a really good defense, and I was just most impressed with how calm he looked, how ready he looked to play. And yeah, we'll talk more about Jackson Dart and the Giants in our preview coming into week 5. But in this game as well, Dexter Lawrence, sexy Dexy, nearly gets a pick 6. He makes a great play, tips the ball up or swats the ball down, gets a hand on it, and managed to get a bit of luck. But I think it bounced off one of the Chargers O linemen and bounced into his hands. And watching that big guy move, I think it was Justin Herbert actually who managed to tackle him in the end, just at the 1 or 2 yard line as well. But yeah, onto the Chargers. Obviously, really disappointing loss for them. This would have been a game, even on the road, I think they would have been looking at to win. And they just never quite got going, did they? They didn't look as fluid as they did in previous weeks. I mean, Lad McConkey only got 1 reception in this game. Just not quite at the races, were they?
No, I think Giants' defense is actually pretty solid. But on the other side of the ball, I think maybe they probably potentially weren't prepared for Dart. They were more prepared for a Russell Wilson-led offense. I don't know when I can't remember when it became apparent that Dart was starting. Do you?
I think it was fairly early on in the week after the last loss, but even still, you've got no tape of him apart from preseason, which you can't really read too much into. So yeah, as you said, it's always a difficult one when you're facing a new quarterback, or not just new to the season, or that he's new to the league. It's his first start. So yeah, difficult one for the Chargers. However, Amarian Hampton in this game was excellent. I mean, he looked a real force, and he's come into the league in the first 4 weeks. Obviously, they've lost Najee Harris. They thought they were going to have that 1-2 punch in the backfield, and now it's really on Hampton's shoulders. He's the one back, and he's really come through and delivered so far, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's explosive, really fast. I like a lot what I see from him. I hope he stays healthy. And it's a shame because I think a lot of us had fairly high expectations of Najee before all the off-season stuff. With his eye, was it his eyes? Yeah, something to do with his.
It's always something to do with Najee Harris, isn't it?
Something to do with his eyes. Yeah, I was expecting more of a 1-2 punch, but I think, excited to see Hampton as the workhorse from this point on.
Yeah, moving on to the third game, your Jacksonville Jaguars big win, 26-21 against the 49ers, the banged up 49ers. They play tonight against the Rams. I was just listening there to Good Morning Football, and the amount of injuries they have tonight going into that game. No Brock Purdy, no Brandon Ayuk, no Juwan Jennings, no Ricky Pearsall, no Nick Bosa. It is... Kyle Shanahan must be tearing his hair out with the amount of injuries. And this game was a frustrating one for him. They did get Brock Purdy back in this game. Obviously, Mac Jones had played the game previously.
Pearsall was playing.
Pearsall was playing, yes. But a really gritty performance from the Jags, especially from the defense, I thought, in this game. Devin Lloyd was excellent with 2 picks, and a really good game for Travis Etienne as well, who's had a tough time of it sometimes of late, but he shone on Sunday, didn't he?
Yeah, lots and lots to be excited about. And interestingly, the one negative I'd say is the passing game, or just kind of the offense in general. Run game's been good, but just looking overall at the offense, that's what Liam Cohen was brought in to do. So I can only, and we've got some young players there, learning scheme. I mean, we've had a lot of penalties as well, so I can only expect that side of the ball to improve. What's blown me away is this defense. I mean, we're really flying around. Devin Lloyd, Foyle, I always butcher his name, but yeah, really, really excited because I think once we get the offense ticking, we could be a solid playoff contender.
That was a question I was going to ask you, and you kind of have answered it there. I was going to say, is there still more to come from Trevor Lawrence and from this Jags offense? And you kind of answered it there. The run game looks good, but the passing game still leaves a lot to be desired. What do you think is the issue there? Is it just getting used to this new Liam Cohen system, or does Trevor Lawrence need to improve? Do the receivers need to improve? What do you think is the problem?
So we've had a lot of illegal shifts, like an astronomical amount of illegal shifts, because Liam Cohen clearly likes to include a lot of motion. And I just think that side of things needs to be cleaned up. Getting to the line quicker. It just seems like I'm watching that play clock count down every play. And I'm just like, is it Trevor not processing? I don't know. But
yeah, there was a time where they kicked a field goal. They were in the red zone, kicked a field goal, and there was some sort of confusion. I don't know whether it was actually the ref's fault not spotting the ball quick enough, but there was a time where they could have probably got 2 plays in before the end of the half, 2 shots at the end zone, and they end up having to just kick the field goal. I mean, they win the game in the end, so it doesn't matter. But if you lose that by 1 or 2 points, you look at that as a key moment, don't you?
Yeah, and I think we've missed on a lot of key moments, to be honest. I think we're actually a 4-0 team. I know that sounds, but we really should have beat the Bengals. And keep in mind, we've played the Panthers, Bengals, Houston, and 49ers. Not the toughest schedule, but I think we're a 4-0 team that just hasn't been able to execute at the right time. Missed opportunities. I think the flag on Travis Hunter against the Bengals was a real shame. But this game in particular was seriously led by our defense. I think it's 4 games in a row with 3 takeaways in every single game.
4 takeaways in this game, a sack, and they held Christian McCaffrey to 2.9 yards a carry.
Yeah. So we've had 13 takeaways in total, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't got the stats in front of me, but that sounds about right. I think you are
because
right
we've achieved 3 or more every single game. Yeah. So that's been a huge surprise for me, which is really nice. On the 49ers side of things, I just don't think Brock Purdy's very good, and I have been saying this. He's just not a good quarterback, and they've now paid him a lot of money. And I'm not sitting here saying Trevor's lighting it up on fire, but
yeah, I think they are. I was wary of them coming into this season, wasn't I? I had them in our power rankings. I think I put them 16th, and maybe they're not that. They have been so unlucky.
They've not been good, but their schedule's so easy. That's why they were 3-0 coming into it.
They have been so unlucky with injuries.
Yeah.
These past. I mean, going into this week now, as we've said. Yeah, a good game for the Jags, but I do agree there's more to come from this team, and I'm not hugely convinced by them so far. The defense has played well, but yeah, definitely one to watch anyway. Moving on to the 4th game. So the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Baltimore Ravens 37-20 in a blockbuster game. Always a blockbuster between these two. This time really wasn't, to be honest. It wasn't close in the end. And me and Ollie discussed it last week that it seems crazy that the Baltimore Ravens are 1-3 now after week 4. But it's another game against a contender that the Ravens can't win. And I know it's on the road. I know Lamar left the game in the 3rd quarter as well. But the game was largely done by the time Lamar had left the game. The Chiefs had a significant lead, and Lamar is now 1-6 against the Mahomes-led Chiefs, which is not a great record, is it? It's what Is it a curse, or is it just they're playing these teams at the wrong time? What do the Ravens need to do to be able to just get over this hump of these contender teams that they need to beat if they're going to have Super Bowl aspirations?
I'm not sure. I've saw, I think it was a Reddit comment or a post saying it's time to blow it all up and start again. So I think there are some serious overreactions happening, and I think it will balance itself out a bit. Um, Unfortunately for them, the Steelers look really good, so that the Ravens need to start winning some games. What is it? Just a case of bogey teams? I mean, are the Bills and the Chiefs just their bogey teams?
But yeah, and look, I caveat their performance with they have had an incredibly tough start. They've played the Chiefs, the Lions, the Bills, and then the Browns. So that's three really good offenses. So it's been a tough start, but their defense hasn't looked like a Ravens defense of old that we've seen. I mean, I looked at some of the stats earlier. They're third bottom in sacks. They've not got any pressure on the quarterback. They're giving up quite a lot of yards then because they can't get pressure on the quarterback. They're allowing rushing yards as well. And I looked at their depth chart, and going into this week, according to ESPN anyway, about 8 out of their starting, or at least 8, it might have even been 9 of their starting 11 on the depth chart are questionable. So there is injuries throughout this defense as well, or niggles anyway, throughout this defense, which means that they're obviously not playing at their top maximum. And obviously they've had a brutal start with the schedule as well. So look, could we see from now on they've kind of got some of those big games out of the way? We hopefully might see them settle into the season, but if they are going to progress in the playoffs, they need to show that they can beat these teams, don't they?
No, absolutely. And even you're seeing a slight fall off from Derek Henry. His father time caught up with Derek Henry. It's
Yeah. On the Chiefs side of it, though, it was a much better performance from them, much more like the Chiefs that we've seen on both sides of the ball. I thought defensively, Steve Spagnuolo called a great game. He pressured he pressured Lamar and Cooper Rush at the right times. He pressured Cooper Rush, and on 4th and 2, Cooper Rush ends up throwing it out of bounds, which you just can't do on a 4th. That you've got to do something. You can't throw it out of bounds anyway. But yeah, both sides of the ball, they look really good. Mahomes ended the game 25 for 37, 275 yards, scrimmage yards with 4 touchdowns. Xavier Worthy had a big game, over 100 scrimmage yards as well. And it was just that classic kind of, you called it, I said the Ravens would win this game, you said the Chiefs, so you got this one right in our predictions. It was that classic Kansas City Arrowhead game against a big opponent where they know the pressure's on, they know they've got to win it, and they turned up big, didn't they?
Yeah. And I think they're only going to get better as well. They've got Rashee Rice to come back.
Yeah.
I was just
about to ask you, so you can answer this question following on.
Sure.
Is this the game where we now see the Chiefs start to warm up?
Yes. Correct. But they win games, and until Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes completely fall off a cliff, I'm not going to doubt the Kansas City Chiefs. So
yeah, it's definitely it's a scary thought, isn't it, for the rest of the teams, especially in the AFC, that oh god, they're coming again. They've had a fairly slow start to the season, some tough games in there against the Eagles obviously as well, but they're starting to warm up now. Moving on to our final game that we are going to review, the Atlanta Falcons beat the Washington Commanders 34-27. Another high-scoring game, really good win for the Falcons. It was, yes, it has to be said, this is a depleted Commanders team this week. No Jaden Daniels, no Terry McLaurin either. And this game, I thought, really stood out the effectiveness of a 1-2 punch at running back. I mean, Bijan Robinson was absolutely outstanding. He had over 100 yards receiving, and then he had 75 yards on the ground as well. And him and Tyler Algier combined for 125 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. And then on the Commanders side, Chris Rodriguez and Krosky Merritt also combining over 100 yards, 106 yards rushing in this game. So shows how effective a good 1-2 punch can be in a running game, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it emphasizes the need for some form of committee. Now, it depends if you want to just have one guy be a workhorse and then someone's more role specific. But Washington, very much this season, has just had a committee backfield. More on the Falcons, it's really nice to see all these weapons actually starting to be used. I mean, we saw Pitt score, obviously Bijan scored. I don't know if London scored, but he had a good game.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
It's nice to see these weapons finally being used after, I mean, who did they have? Arthur Smith for calling plays. Yeah. I don't know who the play caller is there at the moment, but it seems that the Falcons are starting to kind of fire on all cylinders.
Yeah, and Tyler Algier as well. When they drafted Bijan Robinson, it would have been easy for them to just go, "This is our guy," and Tyler Algier, see you later. We'll get rid of you. But they've stuck with him, haven't they? They see a lot with Tyler Algier and what he can give this team, and he keeps popping up when he's needed, doesn't he? Obviously, yes. He's not the star there in Atlanta, but he's a very, very useful player. And this game, as we said, really highlighted that really good 1-2 punch. And then
it's almost like Montgomery, Gibbs, Algier, Bijan, isn't it?
But I think we kind of know how good we've known how good David Montgomery is for years, and even at the Bears. But I think Tyler Algier has kind of gone under the radar even more than David Montgomery. And somebody like a Jordan Mason might be that new type of, your Aaron Jones out at the moment in Minnesota. He's normally the one back.
One I'm thinking of is Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. That 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Who was the guy who scored so many goal line touchdowns? Jamal Williams. Was it Jamal Williams and Kamara or Jamal Williams and Swift? Or
that was Jamal Williams in Detroit. Yeah.
There's always been that kind of 1-2, and I think the Falcons have the best in the league.
Yeah, and well, I think one thing has to be said. Jaden Daniels out of this game. Marcus Mariota comes in for these 2 weeks with the Commanders now. Obviously, going back to Atlanta where he previously played, and it didn't really work out for him. And he's played pretty well in these 2 weeks. Obviously, they lost this game, but yeah, just wanted to kind of shout out Marcus Mariota. He's had a tough few years in the league, and he's now become a backup quarterback. Obviously he was the number one quarterback in Tennessee quite a long time ago now, and he's kind of filtered down through a few teams as the backup, and he played really well in these last couple of weeks. Jaden Daniels back this week, so we won't see too much more of him unless Jaden Daniels is injured. But yeah, just wanted to kind of give a shout out for a guy I really like in Marcus Mariota. But
do you know an interesting thing I just realized? Both Mariota and Jaden Daniels were the second pick and had quarterbacks go in front of them. Because I think it was Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, and then Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota.
Did James? I haven't got an encyclopedic knowledge of drafts for like Ollie we had on last week. I'm not that guy, but I'll take your word for it. So just to run you through, before we move on to the previews, just to run you through some of the other results from week 4 of the NFL. In Thursday night's game, the Seahawks beat the Cardinals 23-20. In the first game in Dublin, the Pittsburgh Steelers won 24-21 against the Minnesota Vikings. The Houston Texans blew out the Tennessee Titans 26-0. The Eagles continue their perfect start with a 31-25 win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Patriots beat the Panthers 42-13. The Bills beat the Saints 31-19. The Lions beat the Browns 34-10. The Rams beat the Colts 27-20. The Bears win a nail-biter 25-24 against the Raiders. And the Dolphins get their first win against the Jets 27-21, and the Broncos 28-3 against the Bengals, who are in a bit of trouble now, aren't they? The Bengals, that's not a good result at all. So moving on to week 5 and these games that we're going to preview. First one we're going to preview is the New Orleans Saints against the New York Giants. We talked a little bit about the Giants earlier. And, we talked a bit about the Saints at the start of the season. We expected them to be terrible. We expected them to be first overall pick. And yes, they are 0-4. But I don't think they've been as bad as we kind of expected. Would you agree, or are you still really loving these guys?
They are 0-4, but their offense has looked better. And I remember we played the Saints in preseason, and I thought Rattler looked really good then. It was when they came back in preseason.
I didn't watch your preseason.
Yeah.
I didn't watch our preseason
game. It was. I think Rattler is actually a solid quarterback.
I think I was watching them obviously on Red Zone against the Bills, and for 3 quarters they were right there with the Bills. They were in the game against the Bills. So I do think, I like Kellen Moore as a coach as well. I think he's building something there. He's obviously a great offensive mind, winning Super Bowl with the Eagles as the offensive coordinator last year. So I definitely think there is something building there. But let's move on to the Giants. So Dart appears to be the starter now. And after last week, he's definitely going to be. And he said this week that he's going into this week with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder for the Saints not taking him at 9 when they could have drafted him. So a little bit of needle there from Jackson Dart, which I always like to see. He's got something to prove.
Yeah, I like that. And I think what better second game to play than against arguably the worst team in the NFL. He can really, hopefully, put up some more stats throwing the ball.
Yeah, obviously no neighbours for the Giants, as we've mentioned. Obviously for the rest of the season now, a huge blow. So other guys are going to have to step up into that role. Quite a lot of pass rush interest in this game. Brian Burns leads the league in sacks, and then. Surprisingly, Carl Granderson for the Saints is 3rd overall so far. The season is still young, obviously, but so he's played really well for the Saints, and not a team you'd expect to get after the quarterback too much. But it should be an interesting one, this, shouldn't it? It's not going to be easy for Jackson Dart, but if he plays at the level that he did last week, this could be a really good week for him and the Giants again, couldn't it?
Is it in New Orleans?
Yes, it's in the Superdome.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, really interesting game. I think ideal game for Jackson Dart to develop more, because I think they probably kept it quite simple for him for his first game. So I'd like to see more. And I think I'm seeing a lot of potential sacks in this game, with specifically Rattler ending up on the floor. And that will be my prediction.
Yeah, he's going to have to avoid a lot of trouble, isn't he? He's going to have to avoid that Giants D-line that we mentioned in the past is really formidable, and especially if Sexy Dexy is now getting in on the interceptions as well. He's going to have to watch out for that. So yeah, really interesting game down in the Superdome. Excited to see how Jackson Dart does in his second NFL game. Next one, we've got the Jets against the Cowboys. So the Jets, we haven't mentioned them on this show, really shot themselves in the foot against the Dolphins. They're now 0-4 on the season against a really poor Dolphins team. I mean, they've improved the last 2 weeks. It's been a better showing. But in this game, they made key mistakes at key times, didn't they, against the Dolphins? They really should have won that game.
Yeah, this could be just Aaron Glenn, rookie coach, slow start. I mean, you like Fields. You're probably not going to build your team around Fields. We were expecting the Jets to be not the best at the start of the year. Hopefully they turn it around. I do think this team has some decent pieces. And to be honest, they're coming up against a pretty soft defense this week, so could see a lot of Justin Fields.
Yeah, Dallas defense not great, but the offense is hot, and they lead the league, as we've mentioned, in passing yards and total yards so far. Another shootout potentially this game.
I mean, we weren't expecting Steelers Jets to be a shootout, but that ended up being a shootout. I'd like to think the Jets and the Cowboys could both defend better, but probably we'll be seeing another shootout.
Well, we'll see as well, won't we? We'll kind of answer our question that we asked earlier. If the Cowboys drop their level to the team that they're playing against, if they play like they did against the Packers this week, especially offensively, they will blow the Jets out of the water, presumably. Yeah. But is this as well now? Is this must-win territory for the Jets? Do you think if they lose this week, it's 0-5, and then you're really staring at number one pick territory?
Yeah, they have to win this game. It's like
I'm not. By the way, when I say that, I don't mean is Aaron Glenn going to get fired necessarily. Yes. He's still a new coach, but just for the team's morale and the team's season, when we're getting into the first kind of third of the season, aren't we? And it's not really a young season anymore. We're moving into that territory now where things are starting to take shape a little bit.
You can claw back from 0-4, clawing back from 0-5. I mean, yes, it's one game, but mentally it's a different story, really. Just like my fantasy team.
Yeah, it's been a rough one for you. So I got 180 points put on me this week. So as Toby said in our group chat, not really much you can do there, Al, to be fair. And I was like, I can't even get mad at that. Moving on to our third game, the Indianapolis Colts against the Las Vegas Raiders. So first loss last week for the Colts, tough loss in LA. And I said to Ollie last week, I put the question to him, was that going to be the first real test for the Colts this season? I know they played the Broncos, who are also a good team. But I think that this was, and it was a close game. It's a tough place to go, SoFi Stadium, with this Rams team. But this was a tough test for the Colts. And they played well. They played pretty well in this game. It wasn't a blowout or anything. But yeah, do you think that this was the real test for the Colts last week?
The Rams are an elite football team. So they got their first real test. Luckily, I mean, like you say, they're playing the Raiders, who
3-game losing streak for the Raiders.
Yeah, you'd like to see more, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So. Tough loss, but I wouldn't hang my head low. And yeah, the Colts have really not been on since. The Colts have really surprised me this season. Definitely the biggest surprise of the season. I think both of us thought they'd be bottom feeder in the NFL, largely because we thought Richardson was starting. Not so much considering, maybe Jones could just run this offense and keep them ticking. Yeah, so.
But I mean, we doubted more than that. We doubted the talent of receiver as well, didn't we?
Yes.
And I talked about it with Ollie last week. They've played really well. Don't get me wrong. They've played above but you still don't look at that wide receiver attack on paper and be really scared of it, do you?
No, the only player that's frightening is Jonathan Taylor. Yes, that's genuinely it. Although Tyler Warren actually, over time, will really grow into quite a solid tight end, unfortunately for my division.
I moved on to the Raiders, as we said, 3-game losing streak. But Ashton Genty did have his best game on Sunday, and he looks. If the Raiders can unlock him in this offense, that's going to be a huge plus, isn't it? And I did say going into the season, I was a little bit worried that the Raiders would be a little bit one-dimensional and be relying on Ashton Genty as a rookie quite a lot. And I don't think it's fair to say they're relying on him solely, but they are relying on him heavily, it seems. But they seem to be making some progress towards that. Yes, the Bears aren't the best team, but an opportunity for them. I think this is your classic banana skin game for the Colts. They're at home, but the Raiders are up and down. They're a tricky side. They've got some really good players in the team. Obviously, Max Crosby. If they can get Ashton Genty going, Brock Bowers, it is a real banana skin. And I worry that if the Colts do lose this game, could we see a little bit of a slide happen for them? Do you think?
I'd like to see that, but no. If they do lose, I could see them starting to slide. The interesting thing about Genty was he was standing up this game. He was in his typical college stance after Chip Kelly tried to get him not to do that because Chip Kelly's just a football terrorist. And now that he's back in his stance that he's used to, he's playing well. Could just be a coincidence, but interesting nonetheless.
Okay. Moving on to the fourth game, and I think this could be the most potentially evenly matched game this week. The Seahawks against the Bucks, both 3-1. They both looked really good. In fairness to them, the Bucks probably looking slightly better, but the Seahawks. I said at the start of the season, I liked the look of this team, and so far they have started pretty well, haven't they?
Yeah, I think I've been surprised how well JSN has performed and Darnold, and I think it's a solid defense, especially that DB room is really, really special. So, no, I think it was a fair prediction at the time, and it's coming to fruition.
Yeah, their offense has been good. The likes of, they've opened up. We talked about 1-2 punches earlier. They've got Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who is another really nice 1-2 punch. They got Gray Zabel in the draft. Was it not this year, the year before, I think? Or is he a rookie this year? Can't remember. Gray Zabel in the draft, who's really performed well on this offensive line. This offensive line has grown a lot, and I think is opening up holes for Walker and Charbonnet as well. But JSN, as you mentioned, second in receiving yards at the moment in the entire league. But then the story for the Bucks has been Emeka Egbuka, hasn't it? 4 touchdowns already in his first 4 weeks. I talked about it with Ollie last week, in that coming into this season, he was perhaps the biggest sure thing coming out of the draft. He was some I heard rumors that some people had been saying he was the most ready to play in the NFL of a player anyone had ever seen in any position. He's one of the most impressive interviews that people have had, and he's showing that at the moment, isn't he?
I mean, so is he kind of evaluated as a high floor, high ceiling? Because otherwise, you wonder why
didn't he go higher?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose the ceiling's a little bit lower. Maybe he's just more solid. You don't get the explosive speed and the measurables as some of the other guys in the draft, but maybe the floor is so high with this guy, isn't it? And
it's nice he's paired with a great quarterback in Mayfield as well, and there's some other good weapons on that offense. So lots of reasons why that was a really great landing spot for Egbuka, and it's showing. And yeah, he's been fantastic.
And this Tampa defense ranked 4th overall at the minute as well. Seattle's defense middle of the pack at the moment, but I think in terms of stats, but I think in terms of on the field play, they're probably a little bit better than that. They're probably towards the top end, especially as you mentioned that DB room is really nice. So a big task for those DBs to cover the likes of Ibuka, K-Dot and Mike Evans as well this week. So yeah, I'm really excited for this game. I think it's really evenly matched, and I think it's going to be a really great game. Moving on to our last game, we're going to preview the LA Chargers against the Washington Commanders. We talked about these two teams in the review. It really interesting matchup again, especially with Jaden Daniels coming back. I think these two teams are quite evenly matched as well. I mean, the Chargers have had the better start, you'd have to say, but given what the Commanders did last season, I think this is a really mouthwatering matchup as well. Chargers, as we mentioned, lost their spark a little bit last week. Joe Alt is doubtful for this game as well. He came out the game, their star offensive lineman. McLaurin is still questionable, but Daniels is back for this week, so that'll be huge for Washington. Do you think, this is the question I've got for this game, do you think Jim Harbaugh, having lost last week against the Giants and seen the Chiefs beat the Ravens and the performance that the Chiefs had last week, do you think he'll feel them breathing down their neck already? Yes. Or do you think he's too experienced to worry about that kind of stuff and he's just going to worry about his team?
He'll be recognizing it for sure. He knows that that division he's in is really tough and he's got to win all these games. And yeah, this is a really tough game. Two very good balanced teams. Bit of a toss-up, really. I think with the Chiefs really starting to turn it on, the Chargers will just be looking to win every game, and because worst case they'll be the best team in like a wild card spot sort of thing.
But that's what I mean. I think they don't want that, do they? They don't want to be every year losing to the Chiefs and every year ended up in a wild card spot, despite being a really good team, because when it comes to playoff time, they're then in a less favourable matchup. They might have to go on the road or something like that. And with the start that they've made and the slow start that the Chiefs have made, this is a real opportunity for them to take charge of this division, isn't it? If you pardon the pun.
I'd like to see it because I really like Justin Herbert and Harbaugh. I would really like to see it, but I just the Chiefs have that thing to them where they just wide doubt them because you'll just probably be wrong.
Yeah, and two players to look forward to in this game. We've mentioned him already. Omarion Hampton was awesome last week, and with the amount of rushing yards that the Commanders gave up against the Falcons, against Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, he could be absolutely deadly in this game if they can get him space and cut him open. But I've also been really impressed on the other side with Deebo Samuel in Washington. You especially were quite doubtful of him coming across from San Francisco. And I could see why. Obviously, the injury concerns last season, a few drops here and there as well. Not great production.
He didn't look like in shape as well in the off season. Like he looked fat. So,
but he's been really good, hasn't he?
Yes, very good.
So another player definitely to watch. So we're looking forward to all of those games. We're going to go ahead with our picks. It's been a few weeks that we haven't done
here
picks.
We go.
So currently, we did miss 1 week in week 2. Sorry, in week 3. We did miss that week. So currently, last week I had 8, Eden had 7. The overall total is 33-32 to me. So it is dead close. Absolutely dead close. Yeah, we didn't do as well last week. We did miss 1 game, so we were picking from 15. We missed the Thursday night game. But there were quite a lot of upsets last week. I think a lot of injuries are starting to show their head now, aren't they? I mean, we've seen the likes of Tyreek Hill, Malik Neighbors, have both got season-ending injuries. We've seen CD Lamb out. We've seen Joe Burrow. Obviously, injuries are starting to play a factor now in this season, and that's skewing some of the results that we've seen. Backup quarterbacks in, third string, second string wide receivers, third string running backs, blah, blah, blah. It's starting to get a bit harder now, isn't it?
That's why off-season predictions are so hard, because Barrow could just snap his leg, and there you go. Now you're starting Jake Browning.
Right, so let's go on to our picks. So this is the first week we're seeing the bye weeks as well, so we haven't got as many games this week. So starting with tonight, the Rams against the 49ers. Who are you going for?
The Rams.
I'm going for the Rams as well. That's a home win for both of us. The Browns against the Vikings. First London game of the season. Dylan Gabriel making his debut in London for the Browns.
The Vikings have no O-linemen left. I swear their whole O-line is injured. Really tough game. First game for Dylan Gabriel. How much stock are you putting into that? I think I'm going with Vikings because Brian Flores is going to make Dylan Gabriel look potentially silly. So give me the Vikings.
Yeah, and also the Vikings have been over there all week, obviously, so they haven't got to adjust to the time difference. They've come from Ireland straight to England, which I think is a bit unfair, to be honest, but there we go. Jets, Cowboys. I'm going to go for the Cowboys.
This is a fair bet.
Yeah, in agreement there. Saints, Giants. I'm going to go for the Giants.
Unfortunately, we keep picking the same team, but give me the Giants as well.
Colts, Raiders. Ooh, this is a banana skin game, I think.
Give me the Raiders. I'll let you decide.
I got a feeling. I got a feeling the Raiders might win that game. Panthers, Dolphins. Oh, another toilet bowl. No Tyreek Hill, obviously, for the Dolphins. We won last week when I picked against us, so I'm going to pick the Panthers.
Okay, I'll go for the Dolphins. I like me some Darren Waller. Give me some Darren Waller.
You look good. Eagles, Broncos. Eagles.
And it's going to be the most boring game you can imagine.
Ravens, Texans. Big game for the Ravens, this.
Ravens, all day. They're going to smack Houston in the mouth.
I'm going to go for the Ravens as well, but I don't think they'll be that convincing. Cardinals, Titans. At Cardinals, I'm going to go for the Cardinals.
Cardinals, Titans. At Arizona, I think, Cardinals is a bit of a no-brainer.
Seahawks, Bucks. Oh,
I'll go for the Bucks.
I'll go for the Seahawks then. That's tough. That's really tough. Bengals, Lions all day long.
Give me the Bengals.
Really?
No.
Jake Browning's Bengals.
I'm just on Detroit hate watch. I just hate the Lions.
Chargers, Commanders. Game we've previewed. I'm going to go for a bounce back win for the Chargers. LAC.
I think I'm going to join you with that prediction.
Cool. Bills, Patriots. Bills.
Bill.
And then lastly, Jags, Chiefs. In Jacksonville.
Duval. Keep your name out my fucking mouth. That's what Liam Cohen's going to be saying to Andy Reid. Huh?
Okay. You're going to back your butt. I'm going to not do that. Because I think the Chiefs
Keep my name out your fucking mouth.
This show has gone off the rails. That is our predictions for week 5 of the NFL season. We'll be back next week to review some of those games. Enjoy the games, enjoy the week, and we'll see you again next week.
See you later.